Hello, it is Monday, February 6th at 9:16 a.m. Eastern Time, USA, in the year 2023. This is my video journal. I'm Mitch Miller, and today we're going to talk a little bit about pistol dulls. And then I'm going to talk about a medical restraint device that I was exposed to in the Czech Republic. So, first of all, I just want to say, I get it. You don't want to fund my weapons company because you're afraid of smart weapons, right? This is for the military. You don't want smart weapons because somebody could shoot the signal down from a satellite in a war zone, and then all your weapons would be useless. So you don't want to move forward with promoting my weapons company that will eventually design smart weapons that can't be used around hospitals, schools, and things like that. But I will say this, if that happened, you'd have grounds to shoot down a satellite, right, over a war zone. So there are pros and cons to what I'm proposing. At the end of the day, we're proposing that everybody solves their conflicts with pistol duels instead of these automatic weapons that would be equipped with smart features, but people can still own those guns and use them for target practice recreationally to feel that exhilaration of firing an automatic weapon at a target. I get it, but so you don't want to promote the compressed air sync up dueling pistols. We have the module that syncs up with the two guns, and the reason for this, the wireless connection in there, isn't necessarily the smart aspect of it. It's so that we can tell with precision who fired first, which dueler fired first. They will, if they hit in the vital part of the body, they will be declared the winner, whichever gun fired quicker. That's the winner of the duel. So if we have them linked wirelessly, we can tell exactly who fired first. But look, we could have did this in the 1700s, right? When dueling was all the rage, when people were dueling with black powder, muzzle-loaded dueling pistols. And from what I read of the history of dueling, it was even an Olympic sport at one point, but the militaries stopped the dueling because officers within their own military were dueling, getting in arguments and dueling, and officers were getting killed, and the military spent a lot of money training officers, so they outlawed dueling so that officers wouldn't get killed and they'd keep their investment, right? But we could have did it back then. Somebody could have developed a .50 caliber musket ball that was rubber. We had rubber back then. They could have rolled that rubber ball in some chalk, some blue chalk, before they shoved it down the pistol. And then we could add pistol duels, and you'd see a little spotch of either black powder or chalk where it hit the vital part of the body. So muzzle-loading pistols that shot rubber bullets, right? We're using rubber bullets now on protesters. Why don't you use them in the ranks of the military? It's beyond me. But you still run into the same problem. If two people fire at approximately the same time, that explosion of the black powder, you're not going to be able to locate which person fired first. But there's a solution to that as well. We have our Swiss watchmakers, United States made great watches. You incorporate a timer stopwatch feature into the dueling pistol, and when the two meet in the middle, you start the timers at exactly the same time, click them at exactly the same time, and then you wind them up, you click them, start them, and then they pace out, and when the trigger is pulled, the timer stops. And then you shoot your rubber bullets. You guys can go compare your stopwatches built into the stock of your dueling pistols and see which one fired first. Simple solution, right? So we could have been doing this for 300 years, but the military is run by cowards. That's why we don't do it. Think about it. All military leadership wants that strategic advantage. They always talk about the strategic advantage. They want longer range weapons, longer range small arms, always looking for that strategic advantage, a satellite system, whatever, so that eventually they get so long range that they can hide behind a computer screen and strike a target with a drone. And I guess my point is, and why I say they're cowards, is that most of the leadership that stayed in the military, they weren't interested in who the best trained military was, who had the most skills, the best marksmanship skills, the best hand-to-hand combat skills, because they would embrace this if they did. They would say, we believe we have the best trained military and the best skilled military, and let's put them head-to-head with any other military in the world. Instead, we want long-range weapons and computer-guided assaults on targets. So the people that muster out of the military might have wanted that. The leadership that always is pushing for the strategic advantage stays in, gets promoted, and they're the leadership of the military, the ones that want to hide behind computer screens and strike targets remotely. And you think about it, the higher up in the military you get, the more soldiers you have underneath you that'll go die for you instead of you actually having to go fight person to person, head to head. So we could have had these timer dueling pistols a long time ago, and that's what I'm proposing. I've explained in a previous video, I chose my Royal Wood. It's a wood that had a blight. It's American wormy chestnut. I have a cache of it in Utica. It came from a house in Utica. I told a story about that, but I can tell you in person. I'm reaching out to any royalty out there, any leadership. I can give you a block of the wood, and you can make the wood block into handles of dueling pistols. We can incorporate those timers into it. We can have them use black powder and rubber bullets. If you're afraid of smart weapons and moving in that direction, then your military shouldn't have any problem with simple stopwatches and black powder, right? And I have programs and ideas of how we can monitor black powder using photography equipment and photographers in the field. I've been waiting to display that program. But again, you could make your prototype dueling pistols of black powder with the timers. You could make them compressed air with timers instead of wirelessly synced. I'm willing to make concessions here. Let's get this done. Because here's the pros of compressed air. They'll always fire black powder if you have moist, wet, damp conditions. They may not go off. Plus, getting a precise amount of black powder, the other reason for the centralized module is that we can plug both compressed air pistols into it. It has a little compressor in it. We can ensure that they have exactly the same air pressure so that we're precise and on equal footing when we fire those paintballs or those rubber bullets. So I would go with compressed air, but it's up to you. The royalty, the military, whoever's taking these wormy chestnut blocks and making dueling pistols out of them. I will give them as a gift. Any leadership that contacts me through the embassies, through the Pentagon, through whoever, just independently, I'm willing to fly to any NATO country to bring you a block of wood, meet with you at an embassy or at a wherever, a neutral location. And I'm also willing to fly to South Korea. I have a contact there that we can figure out a neutral location. So the other thing I want to bring to your attention that royalty may not know that your military or your intelligence agencies are doing is I encountered in the Czech Republic a medical restraint device. It was a canvas device that attaches to a bed and has two wrist cuffs on it with a little metal thing that pushes on your wrist so you can't pull them out of the cuffs. On the canvas device was sewed, embroidered company name. I'll leave that out for now because I've investigated it. But the company name was written in red thread in cursive, similar to the cursive of Johnson & Johnson. That's why I felt that company was at one time owned or affiliated by Johnson & Johnson. On the little thumbnail thing, the pin was a black plastic cap. On there was a U.S. patent number. At least it was the same digits as the U.S. patent number, and I checked that number in the Japanese database and any other patent, the world patent database, and I specifically checked it in the United States database, and it does not come up as a little pin. It does not come up as a restraint cuff, as a restraint device. It comes up when you search it as a novel bleaching compound. It's a process for bleaching fabric, like if you had a bloody canvas thing that was used to strap down, how you would clean that. I guess my point is that these things have a wrong patent number on them, or the patent office is hiding something, or intelligence. I mean, these are the types of devices that are used at black sites to strap down and torture people. How many of them are in existence? Probably hard to track because the patent number is not correct and it's not being reported. And I think it's a clandestine operation to make these devices and distribute them to, who knows, psychologists in other countries. And then my theory is that that Homeland Security can monitor if, like, say I tried to buy one of these devices to prove that it has the wrong patent number on it. When it came into the country, they would pull those little metal things out of the device so that I can't prove it. So that's why I've never reported it officially to a government agency authority, because I feel that they're compromised in some regards, partially due to wireless waves kind of taking over people's thought processes and things like that. So there's that investigation that I've done. I investigated the company. It's a company out of Canada. There's also a contact in Germany. It says it only has 8 employees that make these devices. They also make gynecological equipment. So female doctors are ordering equipment from this company, this shell shadow company that some corporation set up to make these restraint devices, and legitimate doctors are ordering equipment from them, legitimizing them, and I'm afraid that they're going to be blamed when this all hits the fan and we find thousands of people were restrained in different facilities around the world using this company's devices. I wrote a screenplay about this. I sent it to the Page International Screenwriting Award. I've sent it to a couple people. I've sent it in the past to some people. I printed it. That's how I chose to publish my findings. Try to make it public instead of giving it to a clandestine government agency for them to hide or not investigate properly. So what I want to talk about a little bit is that I started putting this back out into the atmosphere, out into the digital world, this screenplay, And I talked about changing our policing strategies now that we have supercomputers and artificial intelligence. I said police officers should take pictures of their satellite receivers and their cruisers and stuff to give different supercomputers waypoints and help them with investigating crimes like murder and things like that. And my argument was that they could use that police officer's personal cell phone to somehow get into their brain waves, their dreams, telepathically communicate with them to help give them leads to solve murders and different crimes. Now that's some hocus pocus stuff, I understand. Not everyone's going to believe in telepathy and all this stuff, wireless waves syncing up with people's brains. I get it. What I have an example of is other ways that supercomputers can help if somebody's not radio sensitive, wireless sensitive, and syncing up with these things. Very plainly, I put this back out into the digital atmosphere, and last night I happened to, I didn't realize the Grammys were on. I watched Pawn Stars instead, reruns of Pawn Stars on Defy channel, and sure enough, the episode I turned on was an episode where a guy came in with like 40 or 50 wrist restraint devices. They were old handcuffs from the 1800s up to the 1950s or whatever, that you could twist a handle and pinch somebody's wrist and bring them to their knees. They were kind of like torture devices, old handcuffs. So, and I'm sure they have old patent numbers on them, and we can see who owned those patent numbers and things if we can get a hold of them, research them through the patent office, see who held the ownership of these and how far back this goes, where there were these clandestine kind of restraint devices and things like that. But that's the episode I turned on, right? So supercomputers can work through mysterious ways to bring media like that. There's so much media out there that gives somebody a lead. Hey, I should investigate these devices, and we'll get to the bottom of what happened with this medical restraint device. So even if you don't believe in the telepathy stuff, there are ways that supercomputers can bring stuff right to your television, right on your radio, right on your streaming channel, to give you leads if you're a police officer, if you're an agent, to help you solve investigations. And so that's a very realistic thing that just happened to me last night. I actually wrote to the History Channel, who produces Pawn Stars, to see if they did happen to write down any of the patent numbers on those devices. I doubt they did. They probably should have to. If they have torture devices on their show, it should probably be a requirement. And again, if I was the chairman of the FCC, I would require this type of stuff. If you have torture devices on your show or something, you should have to go through and document any patent numbers that you find on any of those devices. Whether the owners of the pawn shop have it, I don't. Maybe that should be something for pawn shops. I don't know. Anyhow, I wrote to the History Channel today to see if they could provide me with any of the old patent numbers, so then I can then write to the patent office and say I'm looking for because probably they have expired, the patent numbers have expired. I can search them on the online database, but I can also go to the patent office, write to the patent office, say who held these patents, how did they evolve, who has renewed them, are they still held by someone, things like that. So again, I haven't reported this medical restraint device to the FBI. I've reported other things to the FBI that were a little bit further out there, not concrete numbers and things like that I have, because I felt that the FBI is compromised, and as we saw, there was a top-ranking FBI official who might have rigged the election and things like that. So they are kind of compromised, and I was testing the water by contacting them to see if they would even follow up with a courtesy email and say, we looked into this and we didn't find anything, or whatever. Never received that, so what's the point of reporting something through their secure portal that allows you to report things to the FBI if they're not even going to investigate it or give it any thought, because I'm a mentally ill, insane, crazy person that just writes to the FBI, right? So, sorry, my computer froze up, or went to the sleep screen after 20 minutes. This is a long one, 20 minutes. So that's where I'm at with, I'm trying to do an independent investigation, since nobody believes me and nobody wants to look into this. I'm going to still push. I'm going to finish writing the book I started on this computer, and I'm going to release this investigation in that book, Institute and Clinic, where I was locked in a UPMC Northwest for 68 days without speaking. I'm going to release my findings from Europe and things like that in that book. I'm going to work on that in the next coming weeks here. And yeah, so I will publish this in multiple different ways, but I'm just, like I said, you put it out in the atmosphere and then a lead comes to you just like that. Of all the Pawn Star episodes, that one came right across in front of me a few days after I started. I sent it out yesterday in the morning, and then by evening I sent it to a friend, the screenplay, and by evening, and she works in media, so it's all interconnected and things like that. So this is why we should change policing practices to give these supercomputers waypoints so that they can track officers, know where they're at, know what TV they're in front of. Maybe they're at an airport and that TV comes on with a CNN special, and that gives them a lead. You know, if you give them waypoints, they can track the phones and know where the police officer is and pop things up on the television to help them solve crimes. So that's just my suggestion. Again, if you'd like a piece of American wormy chestnut, had a blight of worms, killed off the whole, so it's an endangered wood, or it's an rare wood. Make your pistol handles out of it. Let's shoot rubber bullets with black powder if we need to, but let's move towards looking your opponent in the eye and taking them on as a form of conflict resolution, rather than hiding behind a computer screen and hacking and spying and targeting from abroad and pushing a button and firing a missile. It's a cowardly way to resolve your conflicts, and it needs to come to an end. It's time to transition to a new form of modern warfare, and we can do that. Obviously the military leadership, for obvious reasons, they don't like being called cowards. I know that, and I apologize in some regard, but it makes sense if you think of the evolution of military leadership. We could have developed this 300 years ago, 250 years ago, and been doing this form of warfare for a long time. But you would rather listen to your politicians who say, we have to go into a country and kill and murder, basically. You know, there has to be death to resolve this conflict. It doesn't have to be that way. So let's work towards a better future. Thanks for watching. Join me Wednesday when I talk another segment about the legalization of marijuana, how I think it should happen federally or city by city. Thanks for watching, and join me next time.